When Border Force cracked open a shipment of bananas at the port of Dover, they expected fruit. What they found instead stopped them cold. A ton of high-purity cocaine compressed into silver bricks, hidden behind rows of green bananas. Street value? £76 million. But this wasn't just about drugs. This was about logistics, and a man you've probably never heard of, but should have. Jamie Stevenson. No viral mugshot, no flashy cars, no messy shootouts, just a whisper behind one of Britain's most sophisticated drug trafficking operations. A network that ran across borders, and a ghost who built it without ever stepping into the spotlight. Stick around, because what you're about to hear is deeper, darker, and more dangerous than you think. Before we dive into this tale, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Only 15% of our viewers are subscribed, meaning 85% of you might miss our next explosive investigation. Don't be that person. Subscribe now. It was June 2020. The National Crime Agency, NCA, and Metropolitan Police raided an industrial unit in Rochester, Kent, acting on intelligence from a major breakthrough. From the outside, the unit was unremarkable. Grey, quiet, blending into the industrial estate. But inside, officers uncovered a sophisticated operation, a pharmaceutical-scale drug operation. This wasn't a backroom setup. It was built for mass production. High-capacity rotary pill presses, each capable of pressing up to 258,000 tablets per hour. Commercial-grade shrink wrapping and blister pack sealers, identical to those used in legal pharmaceutical packaging. Industrial mixers, chemical drums, and powder storage, all precisely arranged like a legitimate manufacturing line. On the floor and in boxes, roughly 13.5 million counterfeit pills. Appearance: sky blue, film-coated, stamped 10 to mimic 10 mg diazepam. Barcoded blister packs with forged batch numbers, sealed and boxed as if straight off a licensed medical conveyor. But this wasn't diazepam, it was etazolum, a potent and unregulated benzo, several times stronger than its legal counterpart. Class C, banned in the UK for human consumption. Wholesale value, £403,860. Street value, exponentially higher once diluted into supply chains. These weren't just mislabeled meds, they were dangerously potent street drugs, disguised with pharmaceutical precision. No quality control, no dosage verification, no regulation, just a production line for counterfeit tranquilizers, designed for scale and destined for the streets. The factory had one purpose: profit through deception. And now, investigators were closer to identifying who was behind it all. By September 2020, the investigation had expanded. At the port of Dover, officers with the UK's National Crime Agency made a critical interception. A refrigerated container had arrived from Ecuador. Manifest, bananas, shipped by sea. Documentation, clean. Inspection seemed routine, until officers pulled back the first few rows of fruit. Behind them, 952 tightly packed blocks of high-purity cocaine. Each brick sealed in foil, stored in industrial blue crates. Total weight, 973 kilograms. Purity, 73%. Estimated street value, £76 million. This was no messy smuggling job. No powder spills, no hasty packaging. It was machine clean, engineered with precision, concealed inside 119 foil-wrapped packages, compressed and odor-proof. No drug-sniffing dog would have had a chance. This was organized crime on a corporate level. But what stood out wasn't just the coke, it was where the container was headed. Destination: Glasgow Fruit Market Limited, a wholesaler based at 210 Kennedy Street, Townhead, Glasgow. On paper, legitimate business. Banana shipments weren't new for them. 18 similar consignments from South America had arrived since May 2020. No alarms were triggered before. But the patterns didn't sit right. Investigators dug deeper into the paperwork. That's when they discovered the first red flag. The company's registered director was a vulnerable adult. No criminal record, no assets, no idea his identity had been used. A classic front, shell company, stolen identity, perfect cover. The NCA began cross-referencing supply chain data, logistics, shipping manifests, customs declarations. But there was one name missing. No signature, no direct involvement, no border entries, no registered devices, no obvious financials. The suspected ringleader had ghosted the system. But the meticulous scale of the operation, repeated shipments, spotless concealment, and fake corporate fronts suggested someone with serious infrastructure. The NCA didn't have a name yet on paper, but behind closed doors, they already had one in mind, and that's how they began to close in on him. If this case's sophistication has you stunned, subscribe now. The man behind it all changes everything. James Stevenson, also known as Iceman, didn't fit the typical Kingpin stereotype. No Rolex, no supercars, no Instagram trail, just clean clothes, a tight circle, and a quiet presence. But beneath that calm exterior was a man with history. Stevenson, 59, had surfaced in police files over a decade earlier, linked to some of the most feared criminal figures in Glasgow. In 2007, he was jailed for over 12 years for laundering more than £1 million in illicit proceeds. But by 2014, something changed. He was released from prison after serving time for money laundering, linked to over £1 million in illicit proceeds through Operation Folklore, a surveillance-heavy investigation by Scottish authorities. He walked out quieter, more calculated. No more street violence, no more pub disputes. Instead, he started working in shadows, front companies, offshore links, shell businesses tied to logistics and produce imports. He wasn't out of crime, he was outgrowing it. One by one, he placed trusted men in operational roles. Lloyd Cross, 32, his right-hand man, handled logistics and communications using the EncroChat handle ShaggyGoat. David Billsland, 67, a fruit merchant at Glasgow Fruit Market Limited, provided a veneer of legitimacy to the cocaine shipments. His EncroChat handle was Trendy Mutant. Gerard Carbon, 45, Stevenson's stepson, managed parts of the operation, particularly the production of etizolum, street Valium. Paul Bowes, 53, and Ryan McPhee, 34, were involved in the production and supply of etizolum, with Bowes using the EncroChat handle Hollow Butter. This wasn't a loose crew, it was a structured operation, spanning the UK, Spain, Ecuador, and the Nuri Island resort in Abu Dhabi. Stevenson wasn't building a gang, he was building infrastructure, a drug network scaled like a business, clean on the surface, fruit crates and shipping documents, but underneath, multinational logistics, encrypted communications, and absolute control. Even after two major operations, the June 2020 Kent Pill factory raid and the September cocaine seizure at Dover, James Stevenson was still out of reach. No fingerprints, no bank accounts, no phones traced back to him, just silence, a £100 million empire run by a ghost. But in April 2020, the game changed. French and Dutch law enforcement cracked EncroChat, an encrypted messaging platform used by over 60,000 criminals across Europe. When investigators accessed the back end, they didn't just find random chatter. They found Stevenson, operating under the aliases Elusival and Big Tasty. His messages weren't careless, they were surgical. He detailed shipment schedules, coordinated port logistics, and issued cash drop instructions with military precision. He ordered banana shipments from David Billsland and directed Lloyd Cross to deliver dirty money using vehicle recovery services. In one message, he bragged, $35 million to be made from the etizolum pill operation, offering an associate £105,000 as a cut. Another message included a screenshot of the Glasgow Fruit Market website where Stevenson gloated, "Bought that wee guy's company." The text revealed a sprawling web from Glasgow to Spain, Ecuador, and Abu Dhabi. Then came the clincher. February 14th, 2020, Spanish police caught Stevenson on camera at a hotel in Alicante, sitting across from Billsland. The meeting, planning the banana shipment strategy. Digital forensics later confirmed what detectives had long suspected. The phones behind Elusivale and Big Tasty were tied directly to James Stevenson. When the Kent Pill factory was busted on June 12th, police finally closed in. They tracked him to Sherbrooke Castle Hotel in Glasgow. As officers moved in, Stevenson bolted. He fled the scene, abandoning his EncroChat phone on a picnic table, tumbling down an embankment before surrendering. But that wasn't the end. He was granted bail, and just like that, he vanished. He slipped out of the UK, surfacing in Amsterdam, blending into the shadows of the red light district. For nearly 2 years, Stevenson became one of Britain's 12 most wanted fugitives. He hid in plain sight, living under aliases in Bergen op Zoom, a quiet Dutch town near the Belgian border. Then, February 2022, the break came from a mistake. One of his associates used a monitored emergency credit card at a brothel in Amsterdam. Police picked up the transaction. CCTV from the surrounding streets showed Stevenson walking nearby. They tracked his route, watched, waited. February 2nd, officers moved in. He was jogging through a park, fit, calm, focused. He was fit for a life on the run, said Jerry McLean, the NCA's Scotland director. Stevenson was extradited to the UK soon after, facing 14 charges, including drug importation, organised crime, and conspiracy to supply Class A and C substances. This time, there was no escaping. The EncroChat transcripts, the Alicante hotel photos, the seized cocaine at Dover, they all connected. An invisible man, finally caught in the open. If you're riveted, hit subscribe before we reveal the trial and the twist that flips the case upside down. October 2024, the High Court in Glasgow. Stevenson stood in the dock. 14 charges, £76 million worth of cocaine, a Kent pill factory pressing 28 million etazolum tablets, an empire stitched together from Ecuador to Abu Dhabi, now unraveling, one charge at a time. The evidence was airtight. Encrypted messages traced to his aliases, CCTV footage, a photograph from Alicante, him and David Bilsland, finalizing the banana plot, and the cargo itself, 952 kilograms of cocaine seized in Dover, packed so cleanly it looked like freight logistics, not contraband. For 4 days, Stevenson denied everything, said the operation wasn't his, claimed the true mastermind was someone else. But by day 5, the story collapsed. His crew, one by one, started folding. Jerry Carbon, his own stepson, Ryan McPhee, Paul Bowes, David Bilsland, Lloyd Cross, all pleaded guilty. Inside the courtroom, the shift was palpable. What started as defiance turned to inevitability. The weight of evidence, the silence of his allies, too much, even for the Iceman. Stevenson admitted to 2 charges: directing the banana cocaine importation, orchestrating the street Valium operation. On October 24, 2024, the sentence came down. James Stevenson, 20 years, 12 for the cocaine, 8 for the pills. Gerard Carbon, 7 years. David Bilsland, Paul Bowes, and Lloyd Cross, 6 years each. Ryan McPhee, 4 years. There were whispers that Stevenson might lash out, especially at Carbon, the stepson who broke ranks. But he didn't. He stood still, expression blank, cold. This wasn't just another trial. This was the final chapter of a 30-year reign. One built not on bloodshed, but on calculation. Stevenson's empire, built on silent deals across Ecuador, Spain, and Abu Dhabi, had fueled addiction and violence across Scotland. His drugs, cocaine flooding Glasgow streets, etazolum pills hooking thousands, left families broken, lives lost. Police Scotland called it one of the UK's biggest trafficking busts, a blow to organised crime. Yet Stevenson's millions, stashed in hidden accounts and luxury assets like his £307,000 watch collection, largely evaded seizure. The law had his body, but his wealth remained a ghost. February 11, 2025, a final twist. An appeal judge reduced Stevenson's sentence to 16 years and 3 months. The reason? His guilty plea and the way charges were bundled. The man once known as the Iceman appeared by grainy video link from prison. He gave a thumbs up and smiled. To him, it was a win. To those who chased him for years, it felt like defeat. Russell Findlay, the journalist turned politician who co-authored a book on Stevenson, called it a slap in the face to the officers who brought him down. He reminded the world, The drugs Stevenson trafficked didn't just fund an empire. They killed people. They buried children. They tore apart homes. Now 59, Stevenson will be in his 70s when he walks free. But even locked away, his shadow moves. His blueprint survives, silent, efficient, and dangerous. This isn't just about one man. It's about a system that breeds him. Poverty, power, and the lure of easy money. From Glasgow's Red Road flats to a Dutch jail cell, Stevenson's story shows how far ambition can take you and how hard it falls. What do you think? Does cutting his sentence undermine justice, or was it fair? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story gripped you. Subscribe and turn on notification for more true crime that pulls no punches. Thank you for watching and don't miss the next one. The next story is already in motion.